Okay, Adam, we are jumping back into Lost Records conversation. So this is an extension to the Lost Records journal that we recorded. I can't actually remember how long the episode was for that podcast, but we decided to break off into a separate segment because I think it's a bigger conversation. It's kind of a thing that's been going on. I kind of wanted to talk to you about it because in Lost Records Bloom Rage's recent FAQ, which announced the delay for the second tape, we got confirmation that there are no digital pre-orders available. And Lucky Fonts asked us to cover this. It was something I was going to bring in, but it just, do you have like a string of thought and it keeps getting lost? I was like, can't remember it, but thank you for reminding me, Lucky Fonts. So I brought it into here to talk about pre-orders because I've seen it a couple of times on like Reddit threads and stuff where I'm seeing people react in different ways to pre-orders. I have a completely different approach to pre-orders, but I wanted to know what you thought of it because I've seen a very mixed reception of them not announcing pre-orders where I think people have felt differently about things. How do you feel about it? Because all we know so far with the game is it's got a wishlist feature on pretty much all the platforms where you can just wishlist it and we go from there. But how do you feel about there being no digital pre-orders?
Quite honestly, I'm okay with it because pre-orders clearly have gotten way too out of control. To the point where there was one game, I can't remember what it was. Interesting. I can't remember, but it offered a 2-week pre-order bonus, so you could play it 2 weeks in advance. Can't remember the name of the game.
We will never escape that game being mentioned. I think it's been mentioned in every single video. Continue, please.
But yeah, because pre-orders have really just gotten out of control, and to the point of a digital pre-order, because pre-orders before, you pre-ordered from a brick and mortar store so that they know how much supply to get in. Like, hey, who's buying this game and how much should we order? So that's where the pre-order comes to play. But a digital pre-order, I saw someone else in the comments say, like, one, there's no scarcity, and two, maybe they're good because of internet access. Like, you pre-order it, pre-download it in case you have like really bad internet. I can see that, but I'm indifferent for it to be no digital pre-orders.
Yeah, so I've never kind of sustained myself into pre-order culture, especially when it went like crazy in the industry, when like they started offering your leg and your arm and your grandma for like a pre-order. I was like, no, I'm not getting involved in this. And even now I usually pre-order something like 3 or 4 days out, or I'm like, I just buy it at launch, I'm like, or day before. So it never really bothered me. I got different perspectives, so I was like, fair enough with it. And it's funny you mentioned scarcity because the game is pre-ordered for the summer release in the physical edition. And that's smart because they're doing it with Maximum Entertainment and they're obviously going to count where they can get it because you're not going to print off 8 million copies, are you? Because like, what are you going to do with it afterwards? It's not Call of Duty, so you don't have to do that. But digital pre-orders, I found it quite interesting that people kind of like there was different reactions. So it was like, it was a bit of like a quite out there, some aren't out there. And I was kind of a bit surprised, like seeing the more kind of like crazy takes as well. I didn't want to bring this one up, Adam, because I got a nice interaction here. And this was with Insev Kiv on Twitter, who's lovely. And I put him out here saying like, I'm not really too bothered about it. Just me, if anything. I'm like, there's a wish list feature, but I'm like, I think some people are over exaggerating it, or, are they complaining because there's no preload feature? But they put here as well in response to report, personally, I like pre-ordering games I know I'm interested in purely to immediately resolve the buying issue and not think about it. Like, I have the money right now, I'd like to buy this now and not stress about it upon release, which I thought was like, a very fair take as it was. So I was like, that's more of the kind of more rational, calm version I've seen of it. But some people are like, well, it's going to like, your sales are going to be affected. I find it weird for a game to be like this, but I see it in different realms as well. So I'm looking at it from different perspectives and having spoken to different developers as well, because it's funny you mentioned the game before, which you didn't allude to, because that was published by a big publisher who's doing the marketing, who's doing all the technicalities and stuff. Lost Records is an independent game. It would be considered independent. I would consider it AA. In the way that I think, at least. And even when they showed the lo-fi trailer off last year, you were like, why is it an indie showcase? And I was like, Adam, there is maybe a reason for this, how we define what indie is and what it actually represents. But because this is a digital game, and I've spoken to developers in the past about this as experiences, when you're putting the game how I say it, if anything, is the best way to approach this is think about in the development perspective and why the developers are not making pre-orders available. Because if the first opportunity came up to make a pre-order available, of course you would, because they put it at the end of every trailer, like, "Oh, pre-orders are available for the game." Because if you catch a straggler, you want to obviously hook them onto pre-orders. In their perspective, and I'm just like projecting here, and then also having spoken to people in the past when I was doing my journalism stuff, writing and whatever else, there could be reasons to do it. So it might be technical limitations. It might be in terms of the game being released in two parts. So the game is released in two parts. So is the full game going to be put onto the storefront? Or are they going to release it a little bit later? Are they going to update things in the back end to get the game on there? I've never really released a game, for example, so I don't know the full game development perspective. I tried to look up online, seeing if it cost them more money in terms of putting onto storefronts. Didn't really find anything. So it might potentially be a thing of like, oh, actually, if you want to do it in two parts and you want to list them separately, because again, you can't buy them separately. So we talked about this in the Lost Records Journal. So it's like, then you'd have two separate listings available. And then would you have a third listing available where you buy a separate one? Like if you're getting pre-orders done, how are you going to do this? Like, can you pre-order part two? No, you can't. So I think like maybe they've just done that thing where it's like, there's one option when it's available, you play it. And I've seen it before with like independent studios, like Lowbirth did this with this bed. We made like they've released a video when they activated it on Steam. It's like here's the key and activate it. It's like the game's gone live. You can download it. So I think, if anything, my kind of perspective is, and having spoken to developers in the past and whatnot, and in the terms of Don't Nod, I think that they've probably done it for logistical reasons because, we've just seen one part get delayed. Maybe that impacts like how you release the game and just like thinking of how it does there. Maybe there's a bit of a fear, like, for example, if you release the game in like, here's a pre-order for it and you have to load the entire game onto the file, what happens if someone data mines it and it's 2 months away? What if they start leaking things? What if they start getting audio files out of the game? It's like we saw that with the other game you referred to earlier. So it's like, I'm logistically looking at it in the sense that I think that they've done it from that perspective. Like there must be some kind of like development or technical aspect of some sort that does this, like in terms of that, because otherwise it would make sense for them to do it. And I think like for me, it does kind of like hurt sales in certain sense because you want people to straggle along and you pull them and be like, oh, it's pre-order. Here's access to Swan's digital top, like, as a free pre-order incentive. Oh, here's access to, a specialized drum kit, because you can give away free incentives, can't you? Here's a cookie.
Yeah.
We do it with everything to kind of give a pre-order incentive. We've seen it so many times with so many different games. So I think there has to be a reason from at least a development perspective or a publishing perspective that they've not done it. And honestly, it doesn't bother me because I'm like, whatever, because I've seen it. But some people have got like really kind of like worked up by it. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, maybe like you did want to do where you wanted to give the money up front and be like, okay, I've got it boxed off. It's going to be available, whatever. For me, I'm honestly not too bothered by it not being there. But I might be from a different mentality because I really don't like pre-order culture. I hate it so much. Unless it's limited and I know I need to get it, I'm there for it. But it's like otherwise, I just don't like supporting it. And I think in itself, one of the other things, considering the scale of the game, I don't think even pre-ordering it to get preload is going to be that much of an issue, because I don't know if preloads are really a thing and if that's specifically tied to pre-ordering. But considering the size of this game and the way it's scoped as well, I don't think it's going to be that much of a big download for you as well. You can access straight away. I think it won't take too long for a download, even on any internet connection.
I know there was the FAQ for Lost Records, and it did say everything you need to know. It did give the specs for it. So if we scroll down here, it does say Windows
There's
10
not a download file in there, is there, specifically like the size of it?
technical specifications. Yeah, no, actually, it does not say. It just says your technical specifications. It doesn't really say.
I don't think we'll get file size for a while at this point.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, I thought they did, but I guess they didn't. But yeah, I guess not. Interesting. One more time, I'm just going to check Lost Records Steam page, because sometimes the Steam page will say.
It is interesting conversations to be had, because usually I see people run to pre-orders and I'm like, whatever, I'll just like buy it a day out before or 2 days beforehand. And obviously there's a wishlist feature, so if you are watching, you can wishlist the game and get instant access to it.
Yeah, doesn't say the file size yet. So, yeah, no, not yet. Does not say on my end.
No. I honestly think if you went and spoke to like a lot of indie developers as well, they have like different reasons for releasing games in certain ways, do you like on and parts. And it feels like it's been a long time since I've seen like a part game being released. Obviously, with the Expanse being released, that was done a bit differently. But I'm just kind of like thinking that there's some kind of like logistical reason why they are not doing this the way that they are. And hopefully, it doesn't affect people like long-term sales and getting people in. I hope people do wishlist it. If anything, they're obviously keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I thought we'd just make a separate video and have a conversation about it because it's not that much of a bother for me, personally speaking. And I think them just saying outright, being like, "There's no digital pre-order," is quite nice. That's refreshing, at least, because they've done it in the FAQ. It's like, if there's bugs, we'll fix it, and we're going to continue to support the game rather than launching surprise updates in the game.
Yeah.
And for them just to outright say we're not doing digital pre-orders. Okay, cool. I'm happy with that. There's pre-orders available in the summer for the physical edition. Hopefully they add incentives to that as well. Please release the vinyl at some point. But no, there's pre-orders available for that. But I think because it's a digital game, it does one of those things, because obviously if you do pre-order things, you can count them. Sales wise, it'd be like, oh, actually, we've got this many people going to pre-order the game. It's going to be like, gives us a bit of a forecast. But I think there must be a deeper reason, and I'm just kind of basing it on my own experience of speaking to indie developers of the past, where it's like they've had their own experience to be like, this is why I haven't done it, this is why I haven't done it, and that's why I've not done it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I'm speaking just from a person that's covered games, and I'm not got any development experience, so that's why I'm not really giving them a hard time, because I'm like, actually, there's probably something there which when they say it, or if they could say it, it's like, oh, actually, that's how you do it. So
yeah,
as you will. But yeah, we can wrap up here. Have you got anything else to add?
No, I said what I said.
Yeah, so Falcon has got nothing else to add here, so we're going to wrap up here. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. It would be interesting to see what you think about the pre-order things, and if you're bothered or not, because it has kind of like taken the storm a little bit in certain places online. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, thank you, Lucky Fonts, for reminding me for this topic as well. It's nice for us to cover it as well. And I hope you checked out the Lost Records Journal as well. If you are new here as well, I'm Adnan, this is Adam. We cover this way or that way, whichever way I come up in the video. We cover the Lost Records Bloom Rage, we cover Life is Strange, we cover a lot of content. We cover it on the Lost Records Journal for Lost Records content. We have Strange Cast, which is a bi-weekly podcast covering Life is Strange, Deck 9, Square Enix, and Don't Nod, all that stuff. So go and check those out. They're available on RSS feeds. They're available on these YouTube channels. They come out bi-weekly, interchangeable, so they keep changing. So yeah, if you are new here as well and you enjoyed the video, even if you didn't, you should like the video, share with your friends, subscribe, support the channel. It helps us keep producing content. It keeps the flow of information coming, discussions, everything else of it, interviews, talks, all of that stuff happens on this channel. So yeah, please do support this channel as much as you possibly can. Adam, we will be back now. This will hopefully drop on the Wednesday if my schedule's all aligned, and then we're going to be back for the first episode of Strange Cast of February as we head to episode 100. So you do go and check those episodes out. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, see you later. Bye.
Bye.